about Coach Flores is the standard is the standard, right? They signed Jordan Howard to a big contract in the offseason. That didn't work out, and they moved on from him. And I think the message they sent yesterday was, look, Tua, you've played well. Not great, but you've played well. You deserve to start. He wasn't playing well yesterday. I think the rush impacted him. And in fairness, Vic Fangio knows how to rush the passer. So that Bronco passer, Fitzpatrick's been magical in the past. He may give us the best chance. And I know that may hurt Tua's confidence short term, but it sends the right message to the team, which is I'm going to treat everybody the same, everyone consistently, and he pulled them. And it's interesting, going back to Jay Will's point, which is you look at Doug Peterson, he did do that for Carson Wentz, and we'll see, which team is better for it long term.
And true to form, Fitz nearly rallied them to the win, turning into Fitz magic nearly one more time. But Denver comes up with the big win. Justin Simmons, huge defensive play there in the waning moments. In our waning moments with Mike, last thing for you, another disappointing loss for Baltimore. They've dropped 3 of 4 short week. They got the undefeated Steelers on Thursday. Lamar Jackson, after the game, that devastating OT loss to Tennessee, the reason they lost the game, Lamar thinks, is pretty simple.
We just had 2 losses in a row. Games we should have won. We had little hiccups in the game, but we still got to keep fighting through it. That team, it looked like that team wanted it more than us. They was playing physical. When we went up, I feel like, we just took our foot off the gas, but we just got to keep it going.
Mike, that team wanted it more than us. Less than a year ago, this guy was the second unanimous MVP in NFL history. Now, as Lamar himself said, lost 2 in a row, lost 3 of 4. What's your reaction to his comments? The other side wanted it more than we did.
Yeah, Zubin, I was a little disappointed by that. And Lamar Jackson is going to be a great player for a long time. I think he's just young and immature in terms of dealing with the media and what to say. I think it comes down to 4 players when he talks about lack of physicality. 2 on the offensive line, Ronnie Stanley and Marshall Yanda, who retired, and 2 on the defensive line, Brandon Williams and Calais Campbell. You take 4 really big physical players off of either side of the line of scrimmage. To me, that was the difference in the game. Tennessee was able to control the line of scrimmage. They eventually wore down Baltimore. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, I got to be a little bit more careful because you're really talking to your teammates, and they played hard. They just came up a little bit short yesterday, and they have to clean up some things because right now, remarkably, if the season ended today, they would not be in the playoffs. So massive game this week. You have to have a short memory. You have to move on, and you have to support your teammates.
There is no question about that. That's a stunning stat that Mike said right now. They would be on the outside looking in. In fact, the Raiders would have that coveted 7th spot sitting at a 6-4 record. Crazy. But the Ravens and the Dolphins, both at 6-4, would be on the outside looking in. They wore down the Ravens, but I think it's fair to say, as we found out yesterday, there's no wearing down Derrick Henry. He just gets better as the game goes on. What a beast. Mike, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, Mr. Z, good to be with you as well.
All right, B.A. Baracus joining us this morning. You have to be old enough to get that one on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Sign. Okay, so here's the thing. Let's run this down with Lamar. This has been a big thing. This isn't just yesterday's comments. Remember the divisional game? This was the rematch against the Titans yesterday. In the divisional game, Lamar came out and said last year, when the Ravens were a 14-2 team, had won 12 games in a row, they were the number 1 seed. Tennessee rolls in there, and what does Lamar say after the game? Lamar says, we were just not prepared for them. We didn't actually think they were going to be that good. We took them a little lightly, which is amazing to say. Then a few weeks ago, he tells Rich Eisen on the Rich Eisen show, I'm going to the line and other guys know our plays. And then they lose to the Pats on Sunday Night Football, and he goes, man, we're ticked off. We just lost to the Pats. And then yesterday...
And he blamed the weather.
And he blamed the weather, a tough one, right? And then yesterday, you just heard it, they wanted it more than us. Key, this guy's up for a huge extension, much like other guys are. He is the unanimous MVP less than a year ago. He's a great quarterback. But what do you make of all of these? You said it last week, so I'm going to use the word. Excuses that he's making.
Well, I think when you look at it, much like Mike Tannenbaum just said, you're young and you really don't know how to handle certain situations with the media. He's not the most talkative guy around. Let's be honest now. He's not like you see Lamar just out there, especially last year. His spokesperson was his running back. So when you look at it, it's a hard thing for me to assess him at the quarterback spot and say, well, okay, these other quarterbacks that are getting these big, huge extensions at the quarterback spot. Not what he's saying. I don't care about what he says. The excuse part of it. I'm talking about his playing ability. Mm-hmm. Do I want to extend $100 and something million to a quarterback with this style of play without the necessary weapons around him if I'm the general manager? Do I want to wait and see? Zubin, do I want to give it a year more? Do I want to take it all the way down? Do I want to just see what it is and run it back next year and add some more pieces to the offense so I can see what his development is going to be like before I just step out there and just pay him like Carson Wentz? Is he worth that type of dollar figure? I understand he won an MVP a year ago. I get all of that. But is this all we're going to get? Is we're going to get second round playoff, struggling to find out if we can even get to the playoffs?
0 playoff wins?
I
right
don't
now?
care about that because he's young.
Okay.
There's a lot of quarterbacks are young and they play in a couple years. I understand it's a sexy topic to say, well, he hasn't won any games in the playoffs. Dude's only been in the league 3 years.
Absolutely. This all goes back to the Cincinnati Bengal organization, guys. We've talked about this for months. It goes back to releasing Andy Dalton unnecessarily. In all the years when you have a veteran quarterback who's smart and experienced like Andy Dalton, hold on to him. No offseason program, no OTAs, no training camp. Put Joe Burrow in the best position to be successful for the next 10 years, not the first 10 games. And it's unfortunate that he got hurt. It's tragic. Joe Burrow has a great future, but this is a self-inflicted wound by the Cincinnati Bengal organization. They didn't need to do this and put him in harm's way. They could have brought him along slowly. And I've worked with Zach Taylor. I like Zach Taylor. He's a good head coach. And I disagree with him because their offensive line, when you look at the 32 teams, is way below average. So they may have been improving, but this is an unfortunate circumstance for him and Joe Burrow.
Mike, yesterday we watched the Saints take the Atlanta Falcons down and to the woodshed, I would say, and do something bad to them. What did you make of the decision to go with Taysom Hill over Jameis Winston?
Yeah, Key, I thought it was the only decision, considering that Taysom Hill had been there for a number of years. Jameis Winston had just gotten there this offseason, and again, he was the third-string quarterback, so he probably had very few reps. I was really impressed by Taysom Hill. I thought he had good confidence, good poise. I thought he had good vision. 5 different receivers caught passes. And Key, you know, when there's a great receiver, usually you're going to lock in just to somebody like a Keyshawn Johnson or Michael Thomas. But Taysom Hill distributed the ball. And you know what's really remarkable? As productive as they were in offense, Alvin Kamara didn't have a catch. So if I'm sitting there and I'm Sean Payton, I know there's actually room to grow with Taysom Hill, which is really exciting. And how about this? The New Orleans Saints are 6-0 in the last 2 years without Drew Brees.
Mike, whose side are you on here? Keyshawn says that the Eagles need to stay with Carson Wentz. I'm a huge believer they need to go with Jalen Hurts. Whose side are you on?
Yeah, Jay Will, unfortunately, I'm with Key. What's really remarkable about Carson Wentz when I watch him is he really lacks confidence. You know, that pick six, the reason that happened, guys, is he didn't trust his eyes or his progression. He had a receiver down the seam wide open earlier in the play. And for a guy that's been as successful as he's been, he's not playing with any confidence.